everybody.
Hello, one and all.
Counting in.
Welcome.
Yeah, they're coming in.
72 people already. That's fantastic.
Lovely, lovely. Hiya.
Amazing. 193 in seconds. Brilliant.
It's not lockdown theatre, folks. You do know it's just us three this time. Well, it's not. It's 3 plus 1.
We're over 200 already.
Hi-all.
Not the big stellar cast this week, folks. I hope you know. But we have got a very, very exciting and special guest. We've been having a lot of laughs. Most of us haven't spoken to him for many years. One of the nice things, guys, isn't it, about this thing is that we're meeting all these people again. We haven't talked to you for ages.
I know, and it's so wonderful. It really is.
We have been literally laughing ourselves for half an hour waiting for you guys to come in. So we'll give it another minute or so until most people are in before we introduce you. So we're doing the end today, boys, the very first episode ever.
Yeah, again, because we did it originally in Dimension Jump, didn't we, last year? And I just thought, you know, the whole thing about the end being an ironic title because it was the beginning. You see how we did that? And now it's at the end of this series, so is that a double irony? Does that cancel itself out?
Yeah. In fact, there's no irony at all in it because
no irony at all.
Disappearing up your own ironic. Somebody asking about news on Norman. Have we actually had?
Yeah, I was going to wait till everyone's in. Okay. No, what we did was we sent Norman your chat from the previous week because it was astonishing, and it really perked him up, and he actually sent back an email, which is very not Norman, and thanked you all and said that he loved it. So he must, you know, he's not quite right yet, but he loves you.
He was
okay, now, so I think we've had Tony, we've had our special guest in the green room. Get down with your pencil.
Break a pencil, Paul, break a pencil.
I give up, I despair.
It is the fabulous Tony Hawks, and he comes. Oh my God! He's still got that suit.
And he didn't tell us that he was going to do that, folks.
He didn't know we were going to do that.
He was in a t-shirt. Your commitment is commendable, Mr. Hawks.
The fifth dwarfer you're being called, Tony.
Oh, well, that's it. Yeah, but I have to I wear this suit most days, so you've just caught me in my normal clothes, really.
Now, Tony, we've managed, of course, to ask you to join us on an episode that you have actually got fuck all to do with. So
that's not true. He did do the warm-up for this.
Can you remind us, Tony, what your connection with the end is?
I mean, in a way, although I was in the other episodes, I feel more of a connection with this one in a way, because we were all very much in it together. We all travelled up to Manchester, didn't we? You were I didn't feel like I was treated like a normal warm-up man was. I felt part of the team, and you were.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, you were at pains to tell me how important I was to this thing working.
Listen, a warm-up man is very, very important, especially when you're about to do a complete team.
Shit.
What? You again, Ed.
God's sake.
What is going on?
Hello.
Jesus.
Hello.
What?
Okay, listen, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't know what. Hello. Please go away. Hello.
Well, that's kind of buggered it.
What?
Kind of buggered it, hasn't it? Because hey,
sorry. Hello. Who's that?
It's Patrick. It's Patrick.
It wasn't very clever, was it? And the mute's on the microphone, boys.
Sorry, who is it?
Patrick from ITV, Ed. Yes, I'm calling you up I've got a great project that I'd love you to present. It's called Celebrity Colorectal Surgery Live. How would you like a go at that?
Patrick, you've called the wrong person. You're trying to get hold of my wife. I'll go and get her.
Well, you can co-present if that's what you want. I mean, I'm all up for these things, you know.
Who is this? Who's this? Ed, what's going on? Who is this guy?
Hang on, who's that trying to impersonate me?
I'm not impersonating you. I am me. Who's this?
Well, I'm Patrick from ITV, and there's only one of those. Now just bog off, will you? Now, Ed, I've got another show called When Vicars Go Bad. How it's part of ITV's education season that we're going to.
When Vicars Go Bad. You want me to be the host? Is that right?
Yes, I'd like you to present. It's about time we see you can give it what you've got.
I'm suddenly quite interested in you, Patrick, from ITV. Although I don't like the sound of your voice.
I'm talking to myself again. What's going on? I'm sure I didn't move my head.
Patrick, can I just say you're talking to the wrong person. You were supposed to. There she is.
I'm here.
Ruby,
can you
now there's a real talent.
Get a grip on Patrick, please.
Never called me back.
Ruby, listen, look, forget about Ed. I mean, he can maybe direct. I hear another familiar voice there. I'm sure it's Paul Jackson involved in what you're doing at the moment.
Can we get the show on?
Yeah, I remember Paul. That's him. That's the man. Yeah, he could. I've got another thing for him. It's called 85 and Still Up for It.
Ed, will you get a grip?
Patrick, I'm really sorry. We're doing a Red Dwarf webinar. Oh. There's loads of people watching.
That's still going on, Red Dwarf.
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much for calling, and one sole message to you, please, Patrick, just fuck off.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it's very slick. I'm glad you got me on this.
Yes, it's a slick show. It's a slick
Technicalities weren't very slick.
Oh, dear.
Would you have known who it was if we didn't show you a big picture of him before he came on?
You'd have guessed, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd have guessed. Okay, guys, just to get the housekeeping out of the way, there may be cussing. Tony's here.
Well, there already has been.
Already has been a bit.
Thank you for your generosity last week. We had a fabulous time on Lockdown Theatre, and you guys raised £1,500 for the NHS. So, hey, that's an afternoon well spent, in my opinion. So, I've just got a shout out to Lucas J and Killian and Nikki the mum, first time visitors, and they asked me to. And shall I, have we got time now to play the entries for the signature?
Yeah, we had some very nice entries, didn't we, for the theme music?
Yeah, okay.
Rob, but we're thinking of, when we get a few more, we're thinking of having a little competition and seeing if we can't get a very special judge to join us for that.
Okay, I love this one. This is the piano one.
Is that from Rob?
Oh God, I forgot. I'll credit him when I get it. It's lovely, isn't it?
It's not actually Howard. If you can remember the name of the person, it's a very high compliment. They're asking, is that Howard?
Okay, let me try.
Are you on the line, the guy who sent that in?
I have got it. I have got him.
As you can see, Tony, they all talk over each other.
Yes, I've just discovered there are messages at the side, which I'm now reading.
Yes. More pencils for the box, guys. This will be.
We'll find his name, Pluton. If you are there listening, please
identify yourself. And there were two, weren't there, Rob?
Yeah, and this I love this one. This is a completely different thing from Mike, and the check this out.
When I saw you for the first time, when my knees began to quiver, and I got the funny feeling.
I'm saying hello from camera, Tony.
My hands that started shaking, my heart began to pump. My breath was left my body. Now, darling, tell me something. Why did you let me tongue-tied on sunshine?
Two very nice submissions. Thank you so much.
Mike and Chris, aka the Blackjacks, and we'll put the links up for those afterwards. But any.
We hopefully will be able to improve the playback quality in future.
And actually identify who sent them in as well, but that will be another time.
Coming through your microphone, but we can maybe.
I'm getting a lot of criticism. I'm feeling very harassed.
No, Rob, we love you. We love you with all your friends.
No, I should. Yeah. Well,
listen,
anyway.
we've got to be kind to him this week, folks, because he's actually writing the script for the next Lockdown Theatre, and having told us that he got a script in his bottom drawer, he's desperate to have produced. which is the typical writer's trick. We hope to have it the day before. The next lockdown theatre will be on May 24th, folks. So
yeah, kazoo versions would be great, by the way.
What?
Leanne Bezic is suggesting kazoo versions. If you could all get together and do one.
In, folks. Should we start, Rob?
Yeah, well, let's get going with the show. This is show 1, series 1, the pilot show, and it's called The End. And I guess we've done it before, but if we repeat ourselves from Dimension Jump, you won't be upset, but we'll probably come up with different stuff anyway, because we're making it all up. Okay, when you're ready to press play, you should be on the first frame before the brush comes in. 3, 2, 1, play. And we're off, the brush has come in, yay.
There we go. So Tony, you were just explaining what you did on this first studio.
Yes, well, I mean, I was the warm-up man, so you have the studio audience there. You guys are all at this stage sort of sitting terrified backstage, and I'm probably just about to be told to shut up. I'll have done 15 minutes of warming them up at this point. So they'll laugh at anything, frankly, at this stage. They did.
and that suit, Tony, just for those who don't know, that's what you wore. That's
what I wore. I was the fabulous Tony all-round entertainer, and did the warm-ups for the first 2 series, didn't I? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I just want to make the point. This was over 30 years ago, Tony, and it still fits you perfectly.
It does. I haven't put on any weight at all. There was somebody did put a note in saying, has he got the trousers on? And I'm not prepared to reveal that.
Stand up. Come on, stand up. Stand up.
Can you remember any of your material from there?
Here are the trousers. I don't know why. I used to do a little game show, didn't I, called What's
You did, and the prize was a stick.
That's right. Everything was all about sticks, wasn't it?
Yeah, you gave the prize of a stick to people. You met the people who won the stick looked a little bewildered and didn't quite know what to do with it.
That's right. Well, you were supposed to be directing a show at that point. You were just.
I'm sorry.
Tony, did you do other warm-ups, or was this a special gig for you?
Well, Ed came and saw me at Jongleurs, and he came and I'd never done a warm-up before, so he had to tell me what it was really, and so yeah, no, I hadn't really. It was great training in just having to deal with audience, because the most annoying thing about a warm-up was you'd be sort of working towards a punchline, and then the floor manager would stand up and say, "That's it, we're ready," and you just wouldn't get to the punchline. So you're just constantly performing to nothing.
It was awful. It's an awful, thankless job.
Yeah.
We appreciated it.
But you guys did at least say thank you. Some people say to you, used to say, well, I did a few more. They say it's a thankless task. And then they made sure they didn't thank you.
Tony, after that first thing, you were so good on the warm-up. The 3 of us got together afterwards and said, we got to get him in this. We can't.
Yeah.
Warm-up. That's why we asked you to do the.
Well, that was good. So I got various little bits and bobs in it. And of course, I was a fan of the show the whole time. I did genuinely love sitting down and watching the scenes, although I watched them in a different way to everyone else. I was just saying, please, let them get it all right.
Oh.
Please let nothing technical go wrong, because
every time for 20 minutes.
Well, I did. I mean, I did every bit of material I'd done on that first show by 8:15. You recorded till 10 o'clock. I don't know what I was doing at the end.
Okay, now this.
Yeah.
We were talking last week about how Me Squared. We'd been through all the fake rehearsals because the show got cancelled and because of strikes, and then we remounted. So by the time we got to Me Squared, we'd been working with the boys, and we knew what they could do. Of course, this is the first show, and we actually, because Peter Ridsdale Scott is a genius, had a spare weekend. We had a spare 2-day shoot where we could do
Peter was the genius. I demanded a pickup at the end of the series.
Oh, now you're in trouble, Rob. Now you've done it.
Bloody hell, Rob.
Sacked by the end of the day.
And Paul Jackson's a genius, of course, you know. I think that.
And
so most of that we spent reshooting these themes, this whole, and putting Holly in, putting Norman in. And so by the time they've got this, the chemistry's really going. And
so this isn't what I would have watched then.
No.
Well, you'd have seen the last one.
Well, yeah, but this isn't actually that tape. They were.
That wasn't the night we went out and had to try and scoop people in from books.
Because it was so complicated, and because I had no faith whatsoever in Ed directing, obviously, I'd managed to build in an extra. I said to Peter Ridsdale-Scott, who was the boss, Peter, just give us an extra studio day. We can do any pickups because there's so much technical stuff. And of course, Ed absolutely kicked it into touch. So there weren't any pickups. He got the whole thing properly done by the end of the 6 episodes. And we had this spare day. So we said, well, let's go back and shoot. I think all the pre-records, Ed, we left, but we shot the whole studio of episode 1 all over again.
We shot the live stuff in front of the audience. Just to remind everybody, we'd have 2 days in the studio, and the first day would be pre-records, where we would then play those scenes to the audience, having shot them the day before as part of the story. So all the stuff that coming up that's in the refectories, all the big scenes with the sporting arts and everything else, we kept those. But these scenes, like the ones we got here, we reshot.
But I think I didn't know that, but I think they do look more relaxed working together than they did when I remember it from the studio. Now, I don't know, you would know better because you'll have seen 2 close together, but do you think that's true?
Absolutely, and also the audience were kinder to us on this one, so they laughed a lot more, which gave everybody much more confidence.
We were
They probably had a better warm-up man.
Yeah.
Warm up for both. We were very, very lucky because this was the first episode. And actually, I think if we'd put out the actual first episode that we shot at the very beginning, it just wasn't good enough, really. But after 5 weeks of working together and the audience beginning to know what this was all about, because people came back all the time, this was a much better first episode than it had been.
And somebody's saying the earlier episodes, it's clear it's supposed to be a sitcom first and sci-fi second. Yeah, we kind of, that's true. We were trying to say, is that you again, Ed? Because there are pencils coming your way.
I haven't disabled my phone due to the last gag. One moment.
I've got a question for you. In this version, do the Scutters feature less than they did in the original first episode that you did?
No, probably more, I'd have thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they were a nightmare for me, the Scutters, because they just broke completely, didn't they?
They were a nightmare for everyone. They attacked Chris. In this version I'm watching, that was See You Later, Alligator. Somebody's saying on the Netflix version, the tune's different. What is it?
Oh, really?
Anybody know?
It'd be a copyright issue. You know, they sometimes do change music for copyright reasons.
Generic, here we go chant. Okay.
There you go. Somebody's decided the original was, they couldn't get clearance on it.
Too expensive. You only paid 12 quid for it.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever paid for it. So when Craig earlier, in that earlier scene, he had a cigarette sticking out of his ear. The reason that came about was that we were rehearsing and he had to write something down, and the ash was coming out of his, the ash was coming out of his cigarette, and he was trying to write something. So he just stuck it in his ear. And I looked at him and I went, that's extraordinary.
Do that, you said.
Yeah.
In fact, it's true that a lot of Lister was created watching Craig in the canteen, wasn't it, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dirty T-shirt, for example, was actually his real T-shirt, wasn't it? As I remember.
Oh, what? Somebody's saying it. Audio on Here We Go has subtitles. Alligator. Weird.
Oh,
so the subtitles were the original, but they
changed the subtitles. Very funny.
no, the subs had the original song. That's very funny, isn't it?
Very good.
So now, Ed,
Who wrote the answers on Rimmer's Arms? That would be makeup, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was, because it had to smear. Oh, don't want to give it away, but
I actually think I went down and consulted with them as to what they
right.
Yeah.
Sure you did. I'm sure you did.
Sure you did, Rob, because you would have written the entire. You being you would have written the entire exam paper with all the answers.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the times when makeup said, what's your arm? And I went, Rob, go down and tell him what to write on the arm.
Those of you who don't know this story, Rob at one point during rehearsal wrote the entire 167 names of the Red Dwarf crew, just in case anybody ever wanted to refer to them.
No, it was a displacement activity, I feel.
Did you keep that, Rob?
No, for years, but not anymore.
I've got a question for you that you might know. So at this point, obviously, Rimmer is alive. how long is he alive for in the series of in the whole series of Red Dwarf? How many minutes?
Good question. I think it's
I'll
about,
tell you in about 5 minutes' time.
about 15. About 15, I think. It's kind of hard.
There's Norman.
Now that was interesting.
That must have hurt.
Yeah, he made that up on the day.
He just did that on the night, did he, Ed?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. It was so this was a pre-record scene because obviously this had been difficult to reshoot. And we really wanted to make it look like it was sort of. I was very heavily influenced, obviously, by Alien and films like that. And so I just thought the best thing to do is to fill everything with smoke. Just has smoke in it to try and make it look filmic, I guess. But I don't regret it. I think it still looks pretty good, this scene.
How long did it take to shoot?
No, not too bad. I think we probably took about an hour to do this scene.
It's very good with that many people. And
yeah, we had
a whole day to do all the inserts, Ed, didn't you? So you'd have had about 8 shooting hours to do the insert.
But this scene itself probably it took a lot longer, actually. I do remember, because we did have problems with this scene with somebody. I'm not going to name any names, but somebody couldn't remember any other lines. So
there are people asking about where we got Lister's gang from. We covered that in there when he went back, didn't we? But basically, Mark Williams was it one of yours, Paul?
We'd worked with Mark and Paul on Young Ones, hadn't they? Ed and I had done Young Ones together before this. And most of these people, actually, not Mac, in fact, but a lot of these people had come from that alternative comedy circuit, and quite honestly, from Manchester University Drama Department, where Rick and Aid and Ben had studied. And we'd auditioned a lot of them for parts in Young Ones.
And Mac's genesis was that he was like almost part of that. He's very, very funny. He's like he's the go-to funny American at that time. And he was brilliant. He was great.
He was great. I've had questions about why we changed the gender of the captain in the book.
Why did you do that?
Why did you do that? What a funny thing.
I honestly can't remember. She was called Kirk, and that was what was funny about it. George looks black and white. Actually, you're getting pretty close to that.
So we put a lot of makeup on this poor actor to make him look dead.
Which you then abandoned with Chris. He never had to do any of that.
Originally, McIntyre was played by Nick Maloney, wasn't he? Do you remember, from Carrot's Lib? And
yes, yeah.
But he couldn't make the second one.
Amusing cake, his death cake.
Does he have makeup on to make him look no ghost-like? No, I genuinely remember he was very, very nervous. Yeah. That probably is genuinely not having any blood in your face.
This, of course, is what we know in the trade as pipe laying. And pipe laying often is incredibly annoying and boring, but you manage to get gags out of this. I mean, the whole point of this scene, obviously, is to establish the hologram principle.
Yeah.
But you managed to actually get a lot of good gags out of it. The reason the scene's in there at all is...
I tend to see these formulas if any of them ring a bell.
Can you imagine the makeup girl sitting there doing it? How long did that take? I mean, it's beautifully done, isn't it?
It is beautiful.
Yeah, do you think Chris got an erection?
I didn't ask at the time, Tony.
He may well have done.
Well, when the makeup girl was putting the stuff on his legs.
It might have been a makeup boy.
Unlikely at that time.
No, I
don't think there were any makeup men at that time. Not in BBC. They were in Hollywood, of course, interestingly, but not in BBC.
It's a good question, Tony, and one I will put to Chris later.
We'll ask Chris. If we can ever get him again, we don't know where he is today, of course. Chris,
yeah.
No more pencils.
I'm going to have a post-mortem on this because I was on the phone acting. I missed all the bits of.
Somebody said the H stands for hard, so that's probably a bit. And these scenes this was, what the plan was when you write a pilot, you throw the plates up in the air and some of them will smash, some of them will spin. But we thought this is the heart of our show, the bunk scenes, the porridge scenes where it's just the two of them. And it kind of wasn't it? It always was. That's the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And cutting right forward to the Promised Land. I mean, some really beautiful two-handed scenes, it has to be said. So these two have always been the absolute heartbeat. And I say it again, one was a stand-up impressionist on the circuit, as you knew well at the time, Tony, you've known him all these years. Yep. And Craig was an agitprop poet. I mean, neither of them had been actors before. And
well, you know, the famous story is we said, because we got it from Gotland Simpson, they said, what you should do is cast actors, don't cast comedians, because they did that with, you know. With...
I retook that, but because that was planned, obviously, the great splash of milk all over the floor. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Because when we retook it, the cat was even worse behaved than it was in this. We went with the milk all over the floor.
Oh, hang on, I've got a cat there. Look, hang on.
Oh, that's Coco. Hello, Coco.
Hey, Coco.
Now, you had to keep retaking it, not only because of the cat, but when the cat was better behaved, Craig's testicles were on show. Yeah. They were bouncing off the floor.
It was a shot with Craig's very considerable testicles bouncing off the floor.
I've forgotten about that. I've just blanked it from my mind. Thanks for the memory.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things when you can't unsee it.
One scene you can't unsee. Did that ever get onto an outtakes tape, Ed, that you know of? It's certainly not in the Smeg-Ups, is it?
Probably. Tony, was Coco wearing a protective mask there?
No, she's got a little, I don't know what it is. It's like a little, I couldn't get a bright green one.
A waistcoat.
It's a waistcoat.
For us both to go out wearing this, well, inconspicuously going out during lockdown wearing this green suit.
So throwing prize sticks for your dog.
Somebody said they hadn't seen Bob Bathurst playing Todd Hunter. Yeah, the excellent Bob Bathurst.
Bob Bathurst, yeah, absolutely.
I bumped into Robert Bathurst not long ago, and we were talking, and we were saying, well, do you remember how we met? And he said it was Red Dwarf, wasn't it? First episode, and it was. That's where we met. So I've stayed pretty friendly with him ever since. But we both managed to forget that's where we've met.
Right, Robert. So what were you saying, Rob, about actors? You were saying again the Gordon and Simpson theory of actors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we said whatever we're going to do, we're going to get actors, and we wound up with a stand-up poet, a stand-up comedian,
and a dancer.
An impressionist, and a dancer.
How?
I don't know, Tony. Something went wrong.
I fought and told them that we didn't need actors in this particular one. We got actors, but we didn't know they were actors when we got them.
We didn't know. And yeah, that was a great scene from Chris, because it's totally silent, and you have to work out what's going on in his head. And he's just
quite tricky for him, because
he is great at that stuff.
He had to pre-smear his arm, because every time we tried it, it didn't smear it enough. So
and the drive room looks quite smoky.
Smear on smear.
Is the drive room pre-recorded, Ed, or is that live?
This scene is, I think, live.
Nice shot, Ed, actually, for a change.
It's pre-recorded because behind it's a pre-record set.
Okay.
You couldn't fit in the time.
Yes, I think it was pre-recorded, because whenever the pre-record came on, of course, I enjoyed them thoroughly, knowing that nothing could go wrong.
Well, unless Rob's playing the VT in, then something might go wrong.
Don't listen to him, Rob. Don't listen to him.
Sorry, I'm very irascible today, boys.
What are other ducks back, mate?
Apologies, I love you all. You know I do. I'm just getting now to you. I'm running out of pencils though, so I've got to control myself.
Right, lovely scene with Mac McDonald. I actually managed to get some sporting artists in the background to wander around, which is nice. More smoke, tons of smoke.
Tons of smoke.
Everything has to be covered in smoke.
Makes it very futuristic, Ed, I find.
Thank you. It's nice to know that everything's on fire.
And it was very hard to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, the smoke in those days was slightly less.
It was like oily, left an oily thing on the back of your throat, didn't it?
Horrible, yeah.
It was called cracked oil smoke, so I don't know what they did.
Yeah, I don't think it could have been good for you, but it doesn't smell the same now. Alan Rickman and Alfred Molina did read for.
They read and indeed were the alternative version, if you like. There was a big, long argument about should it be Fred and Alan, or should it be Chris and Craig. That was the whole discussion.
I mean, the thing with Alan was that he didn't want to do it in front of an audience, and he was very.
Well, there were two issues.
through that one.
I wasn't happy playing comedy in front of an audience, but my big argument, and the thing that really made me so determined to win the argument, was I knew that both Alan and Fred Molina were very, very big actors and were likely to have very big careers, whether at the RSC or whether in movies. And I was worried that if we got to a second season, that we'd not be able to get them back. That was my whole problem. Now, not to say that I didn't think Chris and Craig were going to have a successful career, but they weren't at that point, at a point where I thought they'd be difficult to rebook. So my big argument against Alan and Fred, and they were both wonderful on the read. I mean, Fred obviously playing Lister and Alan playing Rimmer. They were very, very good, and they would have made a very good first series. I don't think we'd have got much further than the second series.
So that's it. Rimmer was alive for 19 minutes, and apparently a couple of minutes in time slides as well.
Yes, there is. He comes back live at least once, doesn't he?
He does. He comes back.
Coming out of stasis, the door's about to swing back on him. The way he just very gently kept the door open. I mean, these guys were good.
Yeah, the Hawaiian shirt.
Remember what that white stuff was made of? Can anyone remember?
You don't remember?
No, I think it might have been sherbet, actually.
Did David Baddiel audition? I don't remember. We knew David at the time.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He did. There you go.
David Baddiel had hair like this.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Well, just about everyone auditioned for it. Except
every time I see David, and I've seen him quite a few times, every time I've seen him, he said, "I still haven't forgiven you for not giving me the part."
For giving him Lister, yeah. I've got to see David. It's a true story, I've got a cheque in my wallet made out to David for £200, because apparently when he came all the way up to Manchester to do one line in Filthy Rich and Catflap, we somehow didn't pay his airfare, and he was too embarrassed to mention it, or he tried to mention it to me, and I was busy and said, yeah, later, David. He told me this story only about a year ago, so I've been carrying around a cheque ever since.
Oh, you say you haven't paid him then?
No, we never.
Long arms, Paul. You want to watch yourself.
I'm hoping to bump into David and give him his.
Oh, send it to me. I'll hand it to him. So this is.
Yeah, there's Norm. He definitely wasn't envisioning the first recording.
No, they're dropped in later.
Right. He was just sitting around the side, wasn't he, with the voice?
Yeah, Tony, and he would come up to me discreetly and say, you're wasting this, mate.
He would come up to me non-discreetly and say, if you don't put my face on the screen, I'm not doing it.
That's a very interesting point, because actually he is on those screens, because look, Craig has just walked past him.
Well, I tell you why, Ed, because this is the pickup time, surely. This must be recorded live on the pickup day.
Was Peterson standing on the console when he died? No, but bits of him were. And the scutters swept everyone up and placed them in neat piles.
Yeah, so he definitely wasn't there on the night when the first one I did.
That's right, absolutely right, Tony. This is a reshoot.
Can Scutters walk upstairs, a bit like Daleks? Can the Daleks, turns out they can levitate, I think is the answer.
Yeah.
How do the Scutters get up and down the different levels?
Slowly.
I think they do. I think the answer is there's a team of Scutters per level.
Nicely done, Paul. Lovely.
There are some drone scutters we never see.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because Peter Ragg would have had a heart attack.
And all the taxis in Manchester would have. It was taxis, by the way, Tony, that stopped them working. Interference from taxi messages.
Yeah. But I remember having to get up for ages because of that, whatever. I have a sort of Anaraki question to ask. In all of the series you recorded, all the episodes, have you ever got it wrong? Has Chris actually touched anything?
Yes. Whoa! Now that's a special effect and a half.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. How did you do that?
Special. Yes, he did. In one episode with the fish raining down, confidence paranoia, he banged into a door, but because it was such a good take, because he then saluted himself, and it was so brilliant, I thought, well, we'll leave it. Nobody will notice. They did.
Tons of letters.
Exactly.
You couldn't have an actor smoking now on screen, could you? How many did he smoke? I mean, it must have been terrible trying to get the cigarette length continuity.
Continuity was a nightmare with Craig's cigarettes. But that chroma key sequence, which went into the recaps of the subsequent episodes, I was really pleased with. Craig had to put his hand through a chroma key blue, standing, and then he was keyed into the two shot where Chris was actually standing there. and that's how he managed to get his arm to go through his body. But I was really pleased with it at the time, because we've never been able in those days to do something like that. And the shot coming up is also a chroma key triumph.
This was really groundbreaking stuff. I mean, when we first read this,
easy to do now, but in those days, this was really stuff to do.
Well, you had to
really need to remember, don't they? This was 1922 when you.
We were barely on film.
We shot it on Vitriola.
You must have really had to sit at home and bend your brain, Ed, to work out how to get this, yeah?
It was a lot bit of that, and also then sitting to the technicians and going, okay, so this is what we want to do. This is how to do it. Because even then, technicians go, well, we'll do whatever you like, but we're not sure what it is that you want to do.
John Watson, who I think I'm right, was actually worked on the show at one point. Quantel Paintbox. You remember Quantel Paintbox, Ed?
I did. You used to hate us, Paul, when we sent in a...
So here's another one coming up.
We loved it, and we'd say, and Quantel tag, and you'd go furious.
Quite pleased with it. Yeah, there, see?
Nice.
Good. But really, at this point, these were just to kind of show we could do it, weren't they? And here comes the arrival of...
And a great stunt here. They show you one stunt. He went onto a crash mat at the first shot, edit.
Talk about an entrance, yeah.
So again, this bit was pre-recorded because of that leaping out of the vent. We had to make it intense, join them together. But I'm not sure. I think we might have cut into this live after this little sequence coming up.
Yeah, and of course somebody's mentioned it, but it did remind me at the time we've lost Little Richard, haven't we?
We have.
It was a big inspiration.
Right. Lost Little Richard, and although this was inspired partly by him.
James Brown, Little Richard. I mean,
James Brown, yeah.
That's
I think that was the end of the pre-record. I think we're live now. Yeah.
They're both guys who redefined rock and roll, and
they did absolutely.
What, Little Richard and Danny John Jules?
I love that shot.
Actually, Danny does think that.
By the way, here's another guy who's not, as far as I know, acted in his life or acted as a dancer doing small bits of acting. Look at him walking there, just owning the scene, owning the set, owning the stage. I mean, we were so lucky to get these three guys. It
was fabulous. I mean, because we hadn't really worked out a way of integrating the cat with the other characters, and he kind of just comes on and does a show.
He just comes on and does his own show, and in middle of episodes, he literally does a turn and then sits in the back.
Yeah. So, there's another effect coming up. It's slightly less exotic as the previous one. It's called an additive mix, but you still have to record the two halves of it separately. There.
I remember Danny coming for the audition, and of course he was late. I've told this story a million times, but he was so charming and wonderful. It didn't matter, and we saw some really good guys after him. But you know, I was already in love. It was too late. He got the part.
That's it. We did audition so many people for these three roles, but
I was always
setting aside the actor thing. I think these three guys, when they came in first, they really made an impression, didn't they? I mean, you really thought they're going to be high on the list at the very minimum.
Well, I was always very keen on Danny because I'd worked with him with Lenny Henry.
Yeah.
Mainly as a dancer, but then occasionally he would do the odd sketch, and I could see how funny he was. And so I was really plugging for him. I'm glad we made that decision.
Yeah, that was a jolly good decision.
I think in Danny's case, there wasn't really a number two, was there, Ed? I mean, I think it was Danny from the moment he came in the audition, wasn't it?
Yeah. I have to admit now, I can own this up to it now, but I did prime him a bit. I did say, dress like this, do this.
Whoa! That's a first. Well, it was a good thing to do.
Training just to help him along. But he was, and I knew he was funny. And I still see Danny quite a lot. In fact, I saw him a couple of weeks ago at a motorbike show. He and I are massive motorbike fans.
Well, possibly, Ed, we'll see if he can join us one afternoon, yeah?
Yeah.
We'll have a word.
Did we think, and I've had a few of these kind of things, did we think after seeing the pilot completed, that the show would be a hit?
Yeah, of course.
I think we thought it would be a hit. I don't think we thought it would last 35 years, but I think we
No.
thought it
Coming up. There we go. Cool.
a hit show.
Okay.
I think that little scene at the end that we just glossed over, you know, that is a whole religion laid out.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always loved this script, because as a producer, you know, you read a lot of scripts, and especially at that time, I was the young man on the block, you know, and I was getting a lot of very nice scripts coming through. And this one it caught my eye because of this silly joke about the end. But I just thought okay, that's a trick. And then you read it and you realize why it's called the end, and you think, oh, okay, that's clever. And then you look at the richness within there. You've got the two-hander, which we've all said is very, very important. But you've also got not only this extraordinary cat character, but this whole backstory of Fouchal and the religion and I just thought it was so rich in half an hour to have all that in it, and it remains really, I think, my favourite episode.
Yeah, it was a great app, and it was a joy to do, and it was such a difficult show to do too.
Yeah.
The other thing that's impressive, I think, that very often if you look back at the first episode of any sitcom, it's usually the weakest. It's because you've got to establish everybody. You know, the laughs aren't there till people get to know the characters. But there are laughs in this, you know, and that's what's great about it.
Benny, I think that's absolutely right. We were talking about pipe laying earlier. You know, normally when any drama or whatever, you've got to tell people who people are.
Yeah.
And you've got to kind of outline the plot. And you think about the amount of plot that's in that first half hour. I mean, it's heavy, heavy plot.
Yeah.
Yet it's full of gags, and that's a very unusual combination.
And when it went out, it didn't get much critical response, but I do remember it got quite a nice one in Time Out, which was, you know.
Well, you remember, Rob, we had to fight really hard not only for series 2, but actually series 3. There was a big punch up. I mean, we had to push very, very hard to get 2 and 3 commissioned. 2 wasn't so difficult. In fact, I remember when we were on open air, just when the first series was going out, we were able to say that the second series had already been commissioned. So it must have been commissioned during the broadcast of the first series. But to get series 3, there was quite a lot of debate about whether we do it or not. After that, it was away to the races. But
yeah. But look, the City Limits. Do you remember City Limit magazine?
Yeah.
They came out and said it was awful, and that the problem with Red Dwarf is Little Brown Dwarf, Craig Charles. They were right on magazine.
Oh, seriously.
Gay rights and everything. Honestly, they were appalling. And they said, I confidently predict this will disappear up its own black hole. Well, we're still here, and they're not.
And they're not. Absolutely. Sometimes that satisfaction is very nice to get, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember once the series had started, they started to sort of credit people who'd worked on the show, and I got one which went, Ed Bye did a fair job.
That is your best crit ever.
That's what it does. Ed Fair Job Bye.
Yeah, that's it.
Top director Ed Bye should be replaced by Fair Job Ed Bye. He very often has top director in his name box, don't he? He's being modest today.
Yeah.
Oh, right, it's not there. Okay.
We're going to
put Fair Job in now.
For modesty purposes.
And on his office store, he's got those little newspaper clips like Ed is great, Ed does it best.
Yeah.
It's not really about him.
Yeah.
But he puts it up there.
And once, Tony, a lady on this chat line said he was very good looking.
Yeah, and a legend. Thank you.
Yeah, but you've got to clean your screen.
He was a legend.
Yeah,
folks,
that can happen.
Folks, we've had a good time with this one. I hope you all have.
Yes, okay. And next time we'll be going to series 2. I know you guys like it to be series. The first one, Crichton. And we have a very special guest lined up for you again. Obviously not quite as special as this week's star.
We will bring you a new special guest next week. And then the week after will be Lockdown Theatre 2. Pretty much the same cast. Script by Rob Grant. Or at least he promises me I'll have one by one. And it's a very different kind of script. It's can we tell them the basis of it, Rob?
No, we'll tell them a bit more.
Later on the time. All right.
Can I ask Tony a question? Tony, would you come back if we actually featured a show that you're actually in?
Oh.
Yeah. Yes, I'd like to come back on the one you do about Caligula or better.
Oh,
than
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caligula. I liked the Caligula one.
You were born to play that part.
Tony's pre-booked for Caligula, right?
Okay, and Tony, what we normally do is we go around at the end and everybody gives a piece of advice.
Hang on a minute. Let's just check my diary. Yeah, I'm free.
Can I just, before you do that, Rob, there's a
Yeah.
couple of things from last week's chat line I want
Yes.
to pick up
Oh,
on.
yeah, yeah.
One was from Robert Schazenbach, I hope I said that right, that he'd seen, he saw the episode Me Too before Citizen Kane. So when I saw the movie later, I thought, hey, they've copied Me Too. Right?
The bastard!
Kind of it. And the other one I picked up from Gemma Cullis to all panelists, I want a champagne-filled breast. Now, Gemma, if you could explain some stage or other what you actually meant by that.
I think it's perfectly clear. I would like
I
that
would
too.
like a champagne-filled breast.
Well, it's
We need an answer.
from the show, to be fair. So
Yeah.
he's asking.
It was Todd Hunter's mum, wasn't it? They were the freely dispensing
Had
section.
3 breaths. One of them was dispensed champagne, wasn't that the guy?
Yeah.
And
Might
let's
have
be
been. Might have been. Okay, sorry.
it wasn't just his
I forgot it was in the show.
imagination, Ed. It was actually written by Rob Grant, that line.
Sorry, I didn't forgot it was in the show.
My
Apologies. Apologies. Jeez.
Oh,
Okay, guys, so we're coming to the end of week 7 of lockdown, and I think people are generally feeling a bit cheesed off now. We are looking for some kind of announcement later about perhaps easing the restrictions. Don't get too worked up, and you won't be disappointed. I can't see that it's going to be anything too major.
How much influence would you say the 5 of us would have?
Pretty a lot.
Yeah.
Rob is thinking of being mentioned in the House of Commons for
Yeah,
his
I'm thinking of it.
services to lockdown.
So, Paul, what's your advice? You can give us a tip for getting through the next week or so.
Well, I'm with you, Rob. I would, like many of us, I think I got a little bit hopeful on Wednesday, Thursday that maybe we were going to see a roadmap out of this. I've got to say that hope's fluttered away in the last few days. I'm not sure anybody knows how to get out of this, having started this bloody lockdown. I'm not sure too many people know how to get out of it. And I don't say that depressingly. I just say that don't turn up at 7 o'clock tonight with the champagne hoping to get the bunting out. Look, we are where we are. We'll get through it. We will come out the other side, I'm sure. My only tip for the week, I gave you a rather heavy-handed tip last week about Wolf Hall and The Mirror and the Light, which is a very, very big, long read. I'm now on to the new Craig Brown book about the Beatles, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the opposite. It's still a big book, 600 pages, but it's full of anecdotes, short chapters, little sidebar stories. You thought you knew all about the Beatles. Well, almost all of this was new to me, and I know quite a lot about the Beatles.
Right.
It's a lovely read. Put the tracks on in the background. 1, 2, 3, 4 by Craig Brown. And what a good title, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. What a good title.
Somebody's
Round
asked,
Island with the Fridge is very good, I've heard, Paul.
Yeah, very good.
Another very good book that I often used to read in moments of despair and desolation is Round Island with the Fridge. And if you're very lucky, you might be able to pick up a copy of the little-known movie of the book.
Oh, yes. Directed by...
Directed by top director, fair job on his part.
I would say, look, I've got to say, he did a fair job.
He did a fair job. I think that's what we all said afterwards, didn't we, Tony? Fair job, Ed, fair job.
Very good. But listen, get the movie. It's bloody good. If you don't want to read the book because you can't read, get the movie. It's great.
When you're just too lazy, just get the movie. Can we still get it, Ed? Is it orderable?
Of course it is.
Yeah. I think go to my website and contact me, and because I think I might have a
Personally bring them around, Tony. You
Only
personally
got some emergency spares. That's right. So go to his website.
I need to
Emergency
empty that
spares held
garage.
back.
Tony, you better get set up now with a side office because you'll be deluged.
Oh, excellent. Oh, well, that's good because I need to empty that garage.
So my bit of advice is that the weather's changing across the country. Sorry, here in the UK. Sorry if you're listening abroad. There's a possibility it could rain. And if it rains, this is a unique opportunity to get outside and clean your car or your bike or your cycle. because once you put all the soap on, once it rains, God's great car wash does the final rinse. Thank you.
Very good.
Somebody's rather cruelly asking, is the film on beta or VHS, Ed? Did you shoot it on beta or VHS?
It's actually available on DVD. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I shot it on, oh, hang on. What did we shoot it on? Oh, we shot it on Alexa's, didn't we? Yeah, we shot it on Alexa.
So, Tony, your
Yes.
advice.
Shot it on Alexa? What that?
Yeah, the little thing. Yeah, it was just like, and you could ask it what the capital of Poland was, and it would tell you straight away.
God, there's a movie camera called an Alexa.
Oh, sorry, Ed. I shot the whole thing on an
It's
Alexa.
used a lot. It's been used almost exclusively for the last 10 years, Paul.
Alexa, shoot this film of Tony going around Ireland. Rob, is your Alexa on, Rob?
The song Shoot This Arrow.
Ask it what the greatest sitcom of all time is.
Is Shoot This Arrow by Kate Vogel.
Alexa,
Amazon
stop.
Music.
Alexa, which is the best British sitcom of all time?
Red Dwarf, obviously.
Get it. That's not cheating. Yeah, it's cheating.
Yeah, but I've got one. My one said, I don't know that.
Well, try this then. Alexa, is Silicon Heaven real?
Of course, Silicon Heaven is real. Where do you think all the calculators go?
That's the line from, let me think, Red Dwarf.
That's right. It says it on mine as well, so that's bona fide.
Yeah, and you can ask it.
The second one's bona fide. The first one is.
You can ask it for a Space Corps directive as well if you want, and it'll give you a different one every
And I
time.
think it describes Ed By as a heavy metal band on mine, but
Yes, it does. It did say I did a fair job, even as a...
It says a fair job. If you want a fair job, go to
What's
Ed.
Ed Bye's work like?
Okay, so what's your advice
Tony,
then?
what's your tip?
my advice is that the only place that you're going to be able to have fun this coming week is a garden centre. So basically, go to a garden centre and just have the time of your life. Buy everything, get gloves, get
Throw the
gardening,
soil around,
get
throw
those
pots
little
and
forks, go like that and prod people from 2 meters away and just have a great time in garden centres.
From Wednesday onwards, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, mine is it's one of my favourite quotes. It's slightly paraphrased, I think, from Bertrand Russell, which is, "It must be very difficult to go through life without thinking, yet most people seem to manage it." And don't think of this time as like a prison sentence that you're going to get out at the end, and don't think of it as a gift, an opportunity for you to reflect on your life, to think about things, and do something every day that will improve you and make your tomorrow better. That's my tip.
Excellent. Like a lovely big fat glass of gin in about 10 minutes.
Yes, that will make you better. That will make you
7
better.
o'clock while you're watching Boris. I think Boris with a glass of champagne will be better than Boris cold.
Okay, and don't forget, Wednesday, 6:30, Radio 4, Quandahorn 2. This is my favourite episode, Wasp. Don't miss it.
Bye-bye, Coco.
Bye-bye, Coco.
Tony,
Bye,
thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Cheers, mate.
Great fun.
Thank
See you
you,
next week.
Tony. Thanks, Tony.
Bye-bye.
See you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Awkward moment where Rob can't find the off button.
I can't, and all these people are just saying goodbye, and I want to give them the opportunity.